That's a pretty good look. Seems you want to see the tail,
Is he here?
We're live.
Ken.
You want to do a test?
Hey, you make prosthetics?
Yeah.
Do you make prosthetic toes?
We do. Yeah, we do like what we do. We do like a partial foot insert.
Welcome everybody to Sober Soldiers Tuesday night testimony night. Is it working? The microphone is working. Welcome everybody to Tuesday night Sober Soldiers testimony night. Is it loud? Yes. I know. This is the way. Yeah, it's gonna work. Anyway, a few announcements before we get these testimonies rolling. I just want to talk about Truck or Treat tomorrow night at First Church on the Open Bible. Everybody's invited. That is at 6:30, and of course Breaking Bread Thanksgiving. But I want to get this started so these guys can get up here and share their testimonies. These are 3 20-minute testimonies. 3 guys who have gone through the Sober Soldiers Recovery Home. I have had the privilege to take part in these guys' recovery journey. These guys have been a blessing and been a pain in my recovery process as well. I have seen these guys go through some things. I've also seen these guys grow in their relationship with God. Monday through Friday, as many of you know, we wake up and we chase God. Some people are on time at 4:40 in the morning. Some are not. Some people are at the gym every morning. Some are not. And some of us butt heads and some of us do not. But throughout this whole process of each one of theirs, I spent probably a good 11 months with each one of these gentlemen. And God placed it on my heart that it was time to get these guys up here to do a little test run on their testimonies. So it's a good opportunity for them to get up here. I know quite a bit about most of them, but I don't know everything about them. So I'm also excited to hear a little bit about their journey before and what God has done and where God has placed them. But like I've talked to them, in my beginning of my journey, this is really only the beginning. The story is to be continued because God has so much more for all 3 of these gentlemen. But I'm excited to allow them to get up here and tell you where they've come from, where they're at now, and what God is doing in their life. So without further ado, we're going to begin this night with Cody.
Hi, everyone. So glad that you said it was a test run. Definitely a work in progress, but grateful to be up here. I scribbled a little something down. This is probably about 2 weeks ago. I hope it resonates with somebody. I hope someone gets something out of this, and let's do this. Good evening, Sober Soldiers. I'd like to start by thanking you all for being here tonight and allowing me an opportunity to share with you some of my experiences in not only recovery, but life and love itself. I want to thank anyone who may be watching online and remind you of just how powerful and appreciated your support is. The growth and impact that this family has experienced within the community and church these past couple of years has been nothing short of a miracle. The growth is exponential, and I credit our online family for a majority of it. I'm in awe at what you all have accomplished, and I know I'll be amazed at just how far we'll go for the glory of God. To be honest with you, I find it difficult to talk about myself. I've come up with a number of reasons why that is, but none of them change the fact that it's not something I enjoy doing. And believe it or not, speaking to a crowd, as nerve-wracking as it is for me, I do kind of find it enjoyable. There's so about this that I like. I feel a sense of purpose and accomplishment during and after. And as a show of gratitude to all who may hear this, I hope I say something that benefits you in some way, shape, or form. My journey has took me places I couldn't have imagined. Some bad, some good, but all of them serve a purpose. I can think back now and realize the common goal all my experiences share. And as confusing or chaotic some might have seemed, they work together to get me where I'm at now. Physically speaking, I've been to broken homes and united neighborhoods, public schools and private programs, trap houses and churches, prisons and prairies. I've attended birthdays and I've attended funerals. And I'm sure all of you can relate. Nothing on this side of heaven will last forever, whether good or bad. And that truth, shown and taught me through the physical realm, has revealed to me a piece of eternity, my values. I realized just how important I valued freedom and how much I took it for granted only after it was taken from me. I realized how much I loved and admired family and friends after they were buried. I realized that without guidance and direction, I am lost, wandering aimlessly through a selfish and lonely existence that lacked purpose and meaning. But God had a plan. It's amazing how God works. It's so mysterious and counterintuitive, but I believe He does it this way to not only build our faith and trust in Him, but also to reveal His divine love and His dad-like sense of humor. As I mentioned, I didn't know I valued freedom until it was taken from me, but I didn't know it was taken from me until I was set free. God rescued me from the prison that I didn't realize I was in, by sending me to a physical prison. He set me free by locking me up. Leading up to my arrest were years full of abuse in all of its forms, physical, emotional, mental, etc. And they were all fueled by substance abuse. Not willing to acknowledge the fact that my solution to my problem had become the biggest self-fulfilling problem of them all, led me into the death spiral that we call addiction. Every waking moment of every day was dictated by drugs. Drugs appointed people into positions of authority over me and called them dealers. Drugs decided who I was spending my time with and where I'd be going. Drugs influenced me to treat disrespectful, bitter people better than the people who actually loved and cared for me. Drugs took my freedom, and I didn't realize it at first. I started getting sent to jail, and I would do whatever I could to be bonded out, making empty promises on the phone, and inevitably getting high again as soon as I was released. Freedom, I thought. The more I'd be sent to jail, the longer I'd be locked up. And it was behind those bars that I started to realize something. Although the days were extremely structured, for lack of a better term, there were choices to be made. Choices like how to spend your time. Choices like who you hung around. And choices like what you would eat. Again, they were extremely limited choices, but they were choices nonetheless. I find myself sporadically thinking of loved ones and feeling emotions I suppressed for so long. I'd spend time with people who, believe it or not, had a very positive impact on me. People who shared some of their journey with me and imparted some of their wisdom. I attended Bible studies that the COs would allow to happen, even though we had like 7 or 8 people in one cell. I started to experience freedom in realms that I had forgotten about for so long. And the longer I remained locked up physically, the more mentally, emotionally, and spiritually free I became. While in prison, I finally accepted Christ as my Lord and Savior. I'd go to the yard with the big homie Eric Kelly, and I would work out. That man saw something within me that I didn't. He pushed me to become better than I thought possible. I'd be sleeping in my bunk, and the COs would wake me up to tell me that Kelly was in the hall waiting for me. I'd say, tell him I'm sleeping, and they'd return saying, Kelly said, get up, it's time to go to the yard. I'd crawl out of bed, barely awake, and Eric would hand me a bowl of food and say, "Eat this, we're gonna go live." The first 6 months I spent in prison flew by. I spent most of my days with Eric, lifting, laughing, learning, and listening. We'd have conversations about everything under the sun, and I was amazed at how much pull that man had in prison. Why he allowed me to hang around him and take me under his wing, only God knows. But that man was a blessing in my life, and someone I consider a friend. Perhaps the first real friendship I forged since becoming sober. God bless you, Eric Kelly. Now, one thing he didn't trip about was church on Sunday. Any other day, it was pretty much him calling the shots. But on Sunday, he knew it was time for church. And although he wouldn't go with me, he didn't trip about me leaving the yard to attend Sunday service. Eric was eventually granted parole and released to a program I had never heard of at the time, Kingdom Living. After Eric left, I found myself lacking direction again. I continued on as usual as far as lifting on the yard and going to church, while working my new job that required me to move to a different unit. I was one of 6 intake coordinators on Unit 3B, one of the first people you'd meet upon arrival other than the COs. I would explain how the unit operated and how we expected them to live, followed by a tour of the prison. I'd lend a hand around the unit when and where it was needed. I'd answer any questions the new arrivals might have. The speech I gave upon arrival was usually intended to reassure them that they're okay, that we operate in unity and respect, and that it's not the end of the world. How they behaved and lived while on our unit influenced what unit they'd be recommended for. Some of them were better than others. One day, while lifting alone, I injured myself, and it took months to heal. I couldn't even lean on my arm for months, let alone lift. So I utilized that time to dabble in the dieting and fasting, jogging, cardio, and I also began to journal. I would journal and read my Bible every morning before anyone else would wake up. I'd read scripture and I'd fill pages about what I read. I'd also journal throughout the day, especially during count times, but usually during count times I'd write about like meals, O-mails, or things that had happened that day. The pages filled up very quickly, and once again time began flying. Until people who I witnessed being released started to return. I witnessed people come and go, and some would return worse than I remember. I started to wonder if I would ever get released, and I started to pray. I asked God to protect me and guide me upon release, to help me to remain sober and improve upon my health, to remind me of what's important and to make a way. Lord knows I couldn't have imagined just how amazing it would be. After a 6-month laydown and a couple Christmases spent in prison, my faith was tested, to say the least. I began making peace with the fact that I might not be released, and I know that sounds silly, but I honestly didn't know. And as difficult as the idea of never going home is to accept, God gave me a sense of peace that transcended all my understanding. People from my past started popping up in prison. After I had lost my job, lost a ton of weight, basically spent most of my days journaling, hanging out in the unit, attending church and Bible study on Sundays and Wednesdays, and communicating with loved ones through email. I went from the highest paid job in the prison to not having a job, and I began to budget my funds. Over the next few months, I was able to stretch my money further than I thought possible, by the grace of God and the divine gratitude that amazes me to this day. People I love would write me emails, talking about they started attending church and we could go together if I ever got out. They started writing about this thing they called Sober Soldierz. They thought it would be good for me. And I started to mention that to some of the people from my past, and one of them had actually heard of it. He even had TJ's phone number. So it still amazes me, you guys, how everything worked out and everything aligned. Every Sunday, Pastor Joe would ask for a show of hands of who's being released that week. He'd ask the guys to stand up front, and we'd pray for all of them. And Jill would always remind them that you're not being released, you're being deployed. Another amazing detail, just makes me feel like soldiers. And here we are. So things started to happen. CO called me to the bubble one day, and he told me that my counselor wanted to meet with me. I jumped on the kiosk, and sure enough, I had an email from my counselor talking about meeting with her that afternoon at 1 p.m. or so. Long story short, I was released approximately 1 month after meeting with her. In the weeks leading up to my release date, I really dove deep into prayer. I knew I was going to the fort, but I didn't know much else. I prayed about employment, sobriety, church, health, and relationships. And piece by piece, one day at a time, by the grace of God, my prayers were answered. As I adjusted to this new yet familiar environment at the Fort Des Moines Reentry Center, I was aware of something that I hadn't been in the past: my faith, my family, and my freedom. 3 things that I highly value. I was living by faith in Jesus Christ, and through him I was reunited with my family and becoming more free every day. I walked to the RO's desk at the fort one day and seen a stack of papers full of resources for people like me. Phone numbers, apartment listings, etc. One number stood out to me: Sober Soldiers. Now, I had been attending church with my mom every Sunday and journaling every morning at the fort, working during the day and praying about things I knew I needed. But I didn't realize the extent of the prayers and the effort being made behind the scenes on my behalf. As fate would have it, I got a pass approved to attend a Saturday night Sober Soldiers meeting at a church now known as Kingdom City Church. It was there I met with a man named William Page and TJ Vasquez. If I remember correctly, prior to meeting TJ and my soon-to-be roommate William, I had spoken with someone I grew up with over the phone. His name was Justin Morrill, and he just so happened to live in the Sober Soldiers home at the time. I remember him seeing me at the meeting for the first time in years, and how shocked he was at my appearance. I remember having an interview with TJ and William. I remember being asked if I was ready. I said yes. Shortly after the first meeting, I was given the green light to move into the house I now call home. I couldn't believe the way these people lived. Still can't believe it. On so many occasions, I feel like I was dreaming. From the bonfires, to the service work, to the personalities and the way that people interacted with one another. It was so different from anything I'd ever experienced before. I didn't know what I was witnessing. Some called it sobriety, and some called it family. And if you ask me today, I call it love. What I've been blessed to be a part of these past years has taught me something greater than anything I've ever known: how to love. From the love of God to the love of self and everyone in between. They've taught me how to not only experience and express love, but also how unaware of the overwhelming love that has always been there I truly was. Through love, they've helped heal me, expanded my understanding, and enabled me to do the same for others. They've enlightened me with the knowledge of eternal gifts and the divine wisdom to apply these gifts, not only in this life, but eternity itself. The Lord Jesus Christ loves and works through all of us, no matter how unqualified or unworthy we may feel. I want to mention a verse that I read while writing this speech. It really did resonate with my heart and soul. This verse makes me think of everyone who's ever loved me, and I'd like to thank the Lord for creating them and allowing me to meet them. From my parents, Donald and Virginia Wolves, my siblings, Lacey and Shannon Wolves, my friends, Justin Morrill, TJ Vasquez, Eric Kelly, Aaron Biddle, Alex Seibert, Jacob Tinsley, Austin Rankin, and virtually everybody in this amazing family, to the woman I love, Samantha Stillman. I thank God for reaching me through you, for meeting me wherever I was and however I needed it, for teaching me more about life and love than I could have imagined, and and allowing me to have a divine relationship I never knew I needed. You are all miracles and answers to my prayers. Thank you for existing, and I want you to know that I love you, always and forever. So with all of you in mind, here's the verse that I read. It's from James 5. It says, "My dear brothers and sisters, if anyone among you wanders away from the truth and is brought back again, you can be sure that the one who brings that person back will save that sinner from death and bring about the forgiveness of many sins." So again, thank you all from the bottom of my heart for reaching back and allowing the Lord to work through you. I'm eternally grateful. And if I could, I'd like to end with a prayer. Lord Jesus Christ, please continue to allow, empower, and lead us through the wonderful refining flames of life. May we serve you all of our days and be delivered into eternity with you, perfected and pure. In your holy name of Jesus Christ we pray. Amen.
Amen.
So, without further ado, I'd like to introduce a man that is very, very spiritual, especially in the mornings. Something that knows about it. Mr. Adam Burns.
Well, we should have had Cody go last. Let me get my notes out. Wait. So I'm just going to do this kind of off the top of my head because I've never studied for a test in school or anything. So, well, my name's Adam. I have 440 days in recovery. Well, I was born in Des Moines, Iowa, and I never went without anything in my life. So addiction can hit anyone with any problems in their lives, or even if they've had a perfect life. My mom, Rich and Betsy, I give a shout out to them. They've raised me to the man I am today. I grew up in Redfield. I'm terrible at this. I'm just going to be all over the place.
That's why we're doing it.
I grew up in Redfield, Iowa, and it's kind of known for a kind of rough town with methamphetamine. I got two of my buddies here I grew up with. That's why I'm kind of nervous now. But and you know, we all just grew up together, just raising hell, you know, in Redfield, and just never really, you know, we just wanted to party, you know, and everything just started, you know, the first time I got first felt, I call it a high. Me and my buddies took some skull key, it's a chew, and I got a buzz off it, and I'm like, guys, we're gonna get addicted. And you know, I got a major buzz off it, and I liked the feeling. And right then I knew, you know, I was kind of different. I was always told by teachers in school that I was hanging out with the wrong people. I'm smarter than this. You know, you're smarter than that. I never listened to them. I've never listened to any of my coaches. I really enjoyed baseball, and me and the coach did not get along, and it kind of ruined that for me. And I really like baseball, and I should have started, but whatever. It's because I didn't listen. The first time I really listened was being in this program, honestly. You know, I never listened to my dad. I never listened to any authority or anything. You know, my first drug was marijuana when I was 15. didn't even get high. My buddies messed with me the whole time. I did not enjoy it at all. So I was like, oh, I didn't get anything out of that, so I need to try it again. And I'm pretty sure I smoked a blunt that was laced. Didn't enjoy that either, but I was definitely high. And then, you know, we all just started partying. My buddy Johnny, he's been to the meetings a few times. His mom used to be, she still is, but she was a very strict parent. But then she started letting all those kids kind of just take over the house. And me and Johnny got pretty heavy into drinking, like every day. We would steal bottles from Fairway and just get drunk every day. And we like to fight. And that was our main goal, to go to parties and get into fights. Logan's been a part of that. So I think I was very angry, a very angry kid. I don't know why, I still am trying to figure out why. You know, I got into a relationship after high school with a girl that, you know, had a mom that was addicted to prescription medication. She would give me anything I wanted all the time. So that's when my addiction really took off. I started, you know, just popping and snorting pills. Selling them to my buddies. You know, I thought I was in love with this girl, but I was in love with the high. I just got caught up in something that, you know, it wasn't me. I grew up in a very good home, like I said. I never went without. I have 4 younger siblings that I regret not being a better role model for them. By the choices I was making, I was very absent. I was a very absent son. I was a very absent brother. I was even a shitty friend, to be honest. I only cared about myself, you know. From the outside, I looked happy and, you know, I mean, go lucky. But once I took that drink and blacked out or just got too drunk, I turned into something which I call, it's like the devil that's on the bottle of Fireball. That's what I turn into. It causes me to do things that I would never do sober. I've gotten a lot of assault charges, and I've hurt a lot of people mentally and physically. I just pray that they, you know, because I do believe that I have caused some PTSD to some people, even myself, and I regret that to this day. But when I was in my active addiction, I didn't give a shit. I was on a war path, you know, to kill myself pretty much. You know, I couldn't do it physically, like myself, but I know I was like, it was gonna happen, you know, not by my hands, but by my addiction. And so, in and out of jail my whole life, never really kept a job. I don't know, I just can't find anything that I enjoy to do. But I have found that at Soldierz, I like to, you know, help people. And I like the family aspect of this because I always had a family, but I never like involve myself with it, which this family has strengthened my relationship with my current family, and or with my blood family, sorry. Yeah, in and out of jail. Never learned. I've been on probation since I was 17. Me and this guy got an arson. I got lucky, I didn't get the arson, but I got possession. And I've been on probation ever since that because I've never been able to complete probation. It's just been like a constant cycle of just misery, honestly. My dad always says that I like to just make my life as hard as possible. And I'm done doing that. Because it can get worse. I'm all over the place.
You're doing great.
I'm getting caught up. I can't even. But yeah, I could never pass a UA. That's why I'm still on probation. But I don't know. I had a lot of good friends, you know, and I've hurt a lot of my friends. I've hurt a lot of my family. And my goal is to show them that I can be a better person and not be that evil, violent person that I was. I've always fought myself in my head my whole life. You know, when the party was over, I was always sitting by the fire, still drinking by myself, you know, fighting demons. And every time I would get into a car and I would drive, I've drove drunk a million times, but I've been caught 3 times. And now I'm a felon. But I don't know. I always told myself I wouldn't be a felon. I always told myself I wouldn't drink and drive again. It just kept repeating itself over and over again. So this last time I got my 3rd DUI, and I was sitting in jail in Story County, and I was like, you know what? Nothing's worked, you know? I'm just gonna try to pray. I'm just gonna get on my knees and start praying every night, even if I believed or not. And it became a habit. Good things started happening. Story County has video calls you can use all day long. So I have a 2-year-old, and I was like, oh, kid's gonna get me sober. I stayed sober for a little bit, and then I started drinking and smoking again. And I thought I had it under control. Ended up getting another charge with my brother. Kind of got back in those old ways. You know, I was doing good. I had a really good job in doing fiber for communication dialing. And then I found a guy that I worked with there that he was smoking these pills off of foil. I was like, oh yeah, you're cool, you can do it, I don't care, it doesn't bother me. I was sober at this point. And one day, you know, I was having a bad day, and my addict mind was like, oh, I can try it one time. That first time I was hooked. I was hooked on fentanyl. I didn't even know what it was really, you know. I didn't know that I was smoking death that could have killed me. The first time it could have took my life, and I had a baby on the way. So the whole thought of me saying I'm going to be sober, because, you know, having a kid is going to get me sober or whatever, went out the window. Thankfully, I got clean from fentanyl before he was born. But it was rough. I wasn't there. Like in my head, I wasn't there mentally. I wasn't there physically. I left Nadine at the house a lot with Henry. You know, I was just doing my own thing, and I hurt a lot of people in the process of that. I didn't. It made me not care about anybody. It made me completely numb. It made me not like have those demons in my head. It made me not think about anything. And I think that's why I was hooked on it. But I'm just glad I got off it because a lot of people don't. A lot of people end up dead from it. And you know, it has, you know, that part of it has affected my life. One of my buddies has died from it, and one of my buddies is currently still on it. And I've separated myself from a lot of my past friends being here, but it's because I want to work on myself and I want to be in their lives as the person I was meant to be. I don't want to be the person I was. And yeah, I'm all over the place, but I'm going to go back to, so I was in Story County.
You're right there. You're good.
I was back in, going back to Story County. Sitting there 2 weeks. I'm on the video call with Nadine, and she tells me we're having a second kid. I'm like, shit, I'm in jail. I'm probably going to go to prison, and I'm not going to see this kid until he's 1.5. His name's Reiner. And I took, after the phone, you know, it was a couple phone calls after that, but I was so mad at myself. I've been in a lot of fights, been jumped, been beat up, and I'm not trying to brag or anything, but I've never been knocked out. I took the phone in the jail, or no, I didn't take the phone. I physically punched myself in the face because I was so mad, and it stumbled me. And ever since that point, and like my vision was like all over the place, like I was like, what did I just do to myself? And ever since then, that was the last violence I did. That was the last act of violence that I have done to myself or to anybody. And I honestly don't get mad anymore. I truly believe that God has taken anger from me. Yeah. So I've been sitting in Story County for 30 days. I'm like, I call my aunt and my grandma. I'm like, please, I need to get out of here. Please bail me out. Please bail me out. I'm begging. You know how it is. I can't be in here another day. I swear I'll be sober. I swear I'll be sober. So they come and bail me out. I'm sitting there. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm getting out. They're waiting in the parking lot. They come back. They're like, no, you're not getting out. You have a hold in Dallas County. I'm like, sweet. I'll go there and get bailed out there too. Well, it was a probation violation, so they had no bond on me. My lawyer's like, you'll get out, you'll get out, you'll get out. I ended up sitting there for 45 days, which if anyone's been to Story County compared to Dallas County, Story County is the Taj Mahal. And,
Absolutely.
so I'm like, what did I do? So I hit my knees even harder in Dallas County, and that's where I truly found Jesus. I read a lot of books. I read the Bible every day. Did devotions every morning. I did it by myself. And this is before I even knew what Sober Soldierz was or anything. I got to see my kids, that they have tablets in there now, so I had pictures and stuff. That truly was a blessing. So I'm in Dallas County. Me and Nadine were living together before all this, and she had no choice but to go to Hope Ministries for a 2-year program. And when I was in jail, I was like, "Oh, you're going to a homeless shelter? Don't go to a homeless shelter." Blah, blah, blah. I was so terrified that my boys were going to be in a homeless shelter. So I gave it to God. I prayed about it. Still worried about it. But then, it went away because I know that place is very good and my boys are safe. And then when I got out of Dallas, so in Dallas County, they said that I'm being released from probation unsuccessfully. So I'm like, yes, I'm getting out. I'm getting out on the street. Which wouldn't have been good. I don't know. I mean, I probably would have stayed sober for a little bit, but then the next day I'm like, oh yeah, I'm getting out. They come in, they're like, oh, your bed's ready for CFR. You're going straight from here to CFR. So I'm like, okay, on to the next part. So I get to CFR. That was my 6th treatment that I've been in. I've been at Zion, St. Gregory's. I've been to Zion 4 times, St. Gregory's and CFR. So I knew what it was all about, and I knew I needed sober living. So that was my main focus. Sober Soldierz came in one night, and it was TJ there. And something, I saw something in him that I wanted. The energy, just the energy and just the urge to just want to chase God. Because, I don't know, a lot of my family, a lot of people I know aren't into that, I would say, aren't into God, or they don't know Him yet. So I felt kind of like I was going against, that's still kind of hard, because I truly believe, and a lot of people I care about don't yet, and that was kind of a struggle for a little bit. When I was in jail, I think it was, I found out my mom had lymphoma, cancer. It's a cancer of the lymph nodes all over your body. That scared the shit out of me. I was on the phone with her at CFR, and she's like, "Hey, I'm going in for this." So I prayed about it. I prayed that God would take her cancer away. Literally the next day, I get a phone call after she went in for this test trial drug. She called me and said that the doctor was jumping up and down saying that the clinical trial worked. There was no cancer in her body. I shouldn't have said this, but I said, shut the fuck up, because I didn't believe in prayer. I did not believe in prayer. I didn't think it was going to do anything. And that really started getting my brain going. So then I talked to TJ, and he's like, well, I have this other guy, and I don't usually bring 2 people from the same batch in. And I was like, me being me, I'm pretty nice, so I was like, dude, you can have it, I'll just go to Kingdom Living. And he's like, no, just do it, just keep your application in, or whatever. And then TJ said, pray about it, and I was the second one to interview, and prayed about it, and he let us both in. which I was happy about that because I did not, I mean, no offense to Kingdom Living, but I did not want to go there. I would have done what I had to do to stay sober, but I don't know much about that program. I heard bad things at the CFR about it, and I didn't want to be around anything that could hinder my sobriety. And TJ had a lot of like requirements and that's what I need. Because when I was in prison, I needed structure in my life. And honestly, like Cody was saying, I was lifting, I was eating good, I came out, good shape. I miss that of myself. I need to get back to the gym. Working out and stuff is good for your mental health and stuff like that. But so TJ lets me in. I get to the house. I don't think he's here tonight, but first person I see, TJ's not there, it's Ben. I'm like, what is going on? I'm at King Living. I'm just kidding. I love Ben. Ben is a huge part of my recovery. He took me under his wing and showed me love that I didn't know you could have for people that weren't your actual family. He gave me rides places. I was getting comfortable. Like TJ said, just come in like it's your house. I mean, he's like, "This is your house now." I was like, "Okay." And then he said, "Oh, don't worry about getting a job. Just take your time, blah blah blah." And I'm like stressing about that because I was like, "I need money. I need, I want to start, saving money and just being active and not getting stagnant." So I'm working at the same place as I did before I went to jail. They actually took me back. I was like, I'm gonna try calling them. Maybe they will let me come back. They're like, where have you been? I was like, gone in jail, and they had my mug shot up in the office when I got there. Like they were wondering where I was, and I thought that was pretty cool that they actually held my job, and that I was like needed there. It felt good to be an asset to something, and that was a huge blessing. Another blessing, like Cody was saying, everything just aligns and falls into place when you start just giving yourself up to God and to something higher than yourself, not being selfish, trying to love everyone. I don't know, I feel like I have changed tremendously from the person I used to be. There's still a lot of work to do. I get into the house, get my job back. Now it's been a year. I'm just kidding. This time has flown. I've never been sober for a year. I'll be up here in 3 months. I'm just kidding. No. Just being able to have my kids in my life still while I'm doing this has helped me tremendously. I've actually, I was kind of absent with Henry, and let me go back real quick. Henry wasn't walking yet when I was at CFR, and I had a visit with him, and I got to see his first steps. I got 20 minutes.
You already over.
Nice. Just off freestyling. But yeah, I got to see his first step, another blessing. One more thing. TJ testified for me in court. The prosecutor wanted to put me in prison. He said that I need to be somewhere where there's strip searches. So TJ does strip searches now. And the judge actually went against the prosecutor. I was in tears. I felt the Holy Spirit a lot since I've been in here, which I never knew what that meant. I never knew that was a thing. But to be honest with you, my faith has gotten a lot stronger this past couple weeks. I've been tested. I've been going through trials, and Bible verses are starting to make sense to me. People keep bringing up James, and that's honestly my favorite book right now. So that's all I got. Praise God. I'm going to introduce my homie, Logan Carlo. This man has came a long way. Me and him have been through some shit.
I feel like you're ready to go on the road.
How do you follow that?
Yeah, I'm Logan Parlow.
Hey, homie.
I have 326 days today. I wrote a notebook up. It's empty. It's just me. I guess I was just going to start basically kind of the same way that Adam did. As I was writing all of this down, I really was diving in kind of back into my childhood and how I grew up and all these things. And I felt like I was spending too much time there. I feel like I've dwelled on that for a really long time. I don't feel like that necessarily is exactly what shaped me. I think it has a lot to do with why I became the way that I became, but not necessarily why I stayed there, and why I couldn't get out of it. I've been blaming that for a long time, so I'm going to try and stay away from sitting in that too long, but I'll touch on it a little bit. I was born to Rachel Nash and Christopher Partlow, August 19th, 1995, here in Des Moines. I'm the second oldest of 6 siblings total. We are all over the United States. I have a brother in Arizona. I have a brother in Kansas City. I have a sister I've never met. And I have a brother and sister that live here in Iowa. We kind of all got split up along the way. When I was younger, my parents divorced at a pretty young age. We lived down in Kansas City shortly after I was born. I was 5 years old, I think, when my parents split. I ended up staying with my mother and all of my siblings. Was with her for a while. Life kind of got a little rocky for her, between relationships and men and the back and forth and alcohol and drinking. Life went from being, at my earliest memories, very, very good to very, very dark pretty quickly. Her sister died, and I think it broke her. I don't think she had much heart left to give after that. She didn't grow up very good. She went through a lot. I think that kind of reflected on how, the love that she could give us. When I was 6 years old, I can remember, like one of my earliest memories, my stepdad came into my room. I knocked over a speaker, and he had beat me with a metal end of a belt, and ended up putting me in the hospital. But my mom would kind of egg that stuff on. She didn't want to handle me. She didn't want to deal with me, so she would let these guys do that. He was supposed to be like my stepdad, like a father figure, but he was not. That kind of lifestyle and living went on for a few more years. When I was 7 years old, I broke my leg and shattered my kneecap. I sat in her house while she was drunk for 2 weeks before going to the hospital. A swollen, infected leg. This kind of life just was normal to me. I loved my mom very much. She was my hero. I wanted nothing but her. My dad kind of caught wind of all of this that was going on, picked up me and my sister, and we moved up here. I honestly didn't know my dad that well. Moving from Kansas City, from huge schools, lots of people, big city lights, all of those things, to Menlo, Iowa, with 200 people was a bit of a culture shock to me. I hated it. I absolutely hated it. I wanted to rebel against everything. I missed my mother. I didn't get to see her for 2 years until she showed up high as a kite on my doorstep on Mother's Day. Not really knowing where she was or where she went, but that was my start to Iowa, was moving up here with my dad. He was confused, didn't really know how to raise kids. He spent the majority of his time at the bar, and I stayed at home with my stepmother. She was an alcoholic addict that I started using with when I was 12 years old. Life for me was, when I moved here, was a lot about escape. It was a lot about getting away. It was a lot about, I spent a lot of time in my bedroom. I spent a lot of time listening to music. I spent a lot of time trying to do anything that I could to be out of the house or away from, my reality. It wasn't until when I was 9 or 10 years old, I met my best friend in the world, Connor Fox. Town of 200 people, there wasn't a lot of kids. It was just me and him, After that, we kind of trauma bonded. I found out later in life what that was and how we became so close, why we became so close. Him and I grew up very similar. We had a lot in common. We were also the only two 9-year-olds that lived in Menlo, so we didn't have a lot of options. So me and him me and him raised absolute hell together. Anything that we could possibly do to be the rebellious kids, break into cars, steal cars, break into buildings, hop the trains, do whatever we could to be rebellious, to kind of just get in trouble, make noise, be boys. When we were 11, we decided we were going to steal a car and move to California. I had $350 in a check that was for my grandfather that I couldn't end up cashing, and I had a tent and a bucket full of half-smoked cigarette butts that I stole from the bar. And we took off. I think we made it to like halfway through Nebraska before we got pulled over and arrested and sat in juvie out there for a while. That started me on probation at 11 or 12 years old, which kind of fired off the rest of my childhood. I kind of got put into the system at that point. He did too. We got separated schools. We weren't allowed to see each other, so that just meant that we snuck out and hung out together all night and then slept all day at school. But it was about 13, 14 years old. We'd go down to my mom's, see my older brother, see my siblings down there, and I smoked weed with my older brother for the first time. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. It was something beyond my realm of existence that I could do. I could get out of my head. I could be exactly where I was, which is a place that I hated, and not be there at the same time. To me, that was everything. I knew right then and there that I found, that's me, here we go. Now I got something. I know who I am now. I got something that I can build off of, I can grow with. I smoke weed. I'm Logan Parlow that smokes weed. I bought 8 million Bob Marley t-shirts, and I was the coolest guy that you ever met. And after that, it kind of just spiraled into the friend group that I had. We all were broken kids. We were castaways, sinners, came from broken homes. We loved to hate our lives together. It turned into going to Des Moines, ecstasy, Molly, acid, all of those things. And one day I was driving through Dexter, Iowa, and everybody knew that I sold weed. I had a guy call me, and he was trying to come down. He wanted to trade me for a bag of the rest of the meth that he had. At the time, I was the only one that could get peach kush. Everybody knew Logan had peach kush, and he wanted some. And he gave me the rest of the meth that he had in his pocket. I held on to that for like 3 or 4 months. And then one night I came home from a rave, and we were on ecstasy and acid, and I go, hey, you know what I got in my car that I've had for a while? So we decided to do that. And the next thing I knew, it was like 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning. That was pretty much it for me after that. I really look back. I spent the majority of my high school on the run. When I was 16, I was on the run for like 9 months, living with these guys. I had undercovers after me. I was bouncing around from place to place. I would end up in the worst places that a 15, 16-year-old could possibly end up in Des Moines. I was around some dark individuals. I saw a lot of messed up things. Eventually, they caught me. I ended up in Meyer Hall. I think this is probably my 3rd stint in juvie. When they picked me up and my probation officer saw me, she immediately knew that I needed help. I was crying and just begging for something different. I had been on the run for a long time, and I was during that time, it was the longest 7-8 months of my life. I probably did more drugs in that period of time than I think I've ever done in my life. When I got there, I had my hair cut in a double mohawk. Gavin cut my hair. He's here tonight. One of my best friends growing up, Gavin. And then we cut my beard and also matching underneath. They called me Twix Bar when I got in there. Nobody wanted to talk to me. Everybody was scared of me. But I remember doing my drug evaluation in that lady's face when she was basically going through like what I was doing and what I was on and the things that I had done. And she just kind of jaw dropped to the floor. I didn't last long after that. They immediately got me into treatment, which was cool. They were appalled by what I was doing to myself at such a young age. At that point, I went to Stars in Fort Dodge. I would get out, I would go on visits home, and I would take Coricidin and everything that I could. I had no intention on getting sober. I just didn't want to be here anymore. I moved down to Texas. I've always wanted to be with my mom. I had a lack of connection with her all my life. I wanted that. I always wanted my mom. I got down there. I lived down there for a little while. Actually was sober. Was doing good. I worked for North American Pipeline. I was making pretty good money for a 17-year-old that had no idea what he was doing. I loved it. I love being able to walk into some place and not know a single face, and not have anybody having an idea what to think about me. To not look at me and go, oh yeah, you're Chris Bartlett's son. You're the one that stole that car. Or you're the one that did this, or you're the one that did that. I got to be exactly who I was, or whoever I wanted to be that day. And I loved it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Soon enough, I kind of got to see the reality of who my mother was. I got to see everything that everybody warned me about. We fought a lot. We would drink together. My sobriety went downhill pretty quickly. I came back here for a weekend visit. I relapsed. I wrapped my car underneath the semi on my way home. Ended up in jail in Leavenworth, Kansas. Somehow my car still ran. We ripped off the front fender and put a radiator in it, and she was good to go. The front was flat, but I drove back down to Texas. Needless to say, I lost my job down there. I didn't make it very long. Moved back up here. That's where I met my oldest mom. I knew her before, but kind of why I moved back was half her, half loneliness, half I just wanted to get high again. And I knew that I could do that here comfortably. Immediately got back together with her, went right back to the Redfield house, doing the same thing. We started using together, moved to Adele. It just kind of spiraled from there. She ended up getting pregnant with my oldest son, Sawyer. We did our best to get sober, stay sober. We both got jobs, got an apartment. Was doing what I thought would be, I guess, everything that I knew what to do at 19 years old to get ready to have a kid. But the relationship was horrible. We hated each other. We were on each other's throats constantly. Ended up going to jail over domestic, got stabbed 3 times, and moved back to Stewart as soon as I got out of jail. At that point, I moved back to my dad. That's when I met Amanda, and kind of started over life in Stewart. Things were pretty good at the beginning. I always had alcohol. Alcohol was always my friend. It was always my crutch. I was your bar fly. Fly. I like to hang out with the old boys at the bar, man. I liked shooting the shit with the old guys. I liked telling the stories. I liked, as soon as I got off work, that's where I was at. That's where I hung out. That's where I like to be. I didn't have to go there with people. I wasn't a social drinker. I like to sit at the bar, play music, and be alone with myself. And it kind of just got out of control. It led me to right back to my same old ways. You know, there was a point in time where I had 3 years away from methamphetamines. 3 or 4, I'd say. But my bartender dropped a baggie out of his wallet one night, and we were off to the races. It was very periodic. I was kind of your weekend warrior to start. I left there, or not left there. I ended up getting a pretty good job, started selling cars. I was making good money. The party even got wilder. You know, you got more money, the party gets crazier. But you're making good money, you're doing what you're supposed to do, right? So it's okay. That was until COVID happened. They shut down all of the factories. I no longer had work, but they continued to pay me $1,100 a week to do nothing. At that point, you know, the party really started. Me and my boss started using together pretty heavy. It got to the point where, you know, I was going to Kansas City. We were picking up a lot of weight. I started selling. I kind of turned into that high school kid again, selling weed. But now it was just, you know, on a much larger scale, playing at a much bigger playground. About 6 months into 2020, I just couldn't get high anymore. I just couldn't. I did everything that I could. Nothing would keep me up. My boss, my mentor, actually was my sales manager there, was the one that shot me up for the first time. Nothing was ever the same after that. You know, that was supposed to be my summer of kind of like escape. It was supposed to just be, it was COVID summer, right? So I was getting high for a while and gonna have a fun time and gonna, you know, escape and drive my truck all over the US and drove to Arkansas and Tennessee and went to Elvis Presley's house. I don't know. What do? You know, you're high and you're driving around. I don't know. So I was like, no, I'd love to see that pink Cadillac, dude. That'd be cool. I was spun out of my mind, dude. But as soon as I started shooting up, I just wanted to die. I just didn't want to do this anymore. In 2021, I went to Prairie Ridge up in Mason City, tried to get sober. I stuffed a 1/4 ounce of dope up in the rafters of the Quick Star gas station right across the street. I knew it was there the whole time. I could not wait to get out of there. It was the first thing that I did. I sprinted over to that bathroom stall at the Quick Star gas station. Man, I thought that I was sober. I was not. I lied my way through that. I continued to be the weekend warrior, drinking, doing my thing, hiding everything that I could. I somehow managed to get another pretty prestigious job. I was working at CFI here in Des Moines. I was making really good money, back to almost 6 figures again. Doing well. I worked for an ag industry. I was selling. I was doing my thing. I was doing very well. But still, every weekend, there's Logan at the bar, getting high, not showing up to work on Monday, showing up Tuesday, sweating bullets, keeping my head down, trying to talk to customers and hold conversation while absolutely out of my mind. Wearing long sleeves in the summertime, trying to cover up track marks while working at a pretty high-level job, doing what I could to maintain myself. Life became very hell for me. I got my 3rd OWI in my front yard. Ended up losing that job. Refused to take a drug test. They called me in, looked at me, was like, dude, we can't keep doing this. Like, we know that something's going on. You can't even operate or function. It was probably one of the most embarrassing things that I've ever done. And denied going through a drug screening. You know, to think of all the things that I gave away in my addiction, and I don't like to say that they were taken from me. I willingly gave them away. I had a lot of nice things. I had a beautiful family. I had toys, dirt bikes, trucks, nice things. You know, but none of it was enough for me because I wasn't enough for me. You know, I allowed myself to be broken for so many years, and I carried that on. I blamed everybody else around me, the ones that loved me the most. I broke them along the way as well. You know, hurt people hurt people. I know we've all heard that 8 million times in these rooms sitting here. It wasn't until I started to dig into myself, figure out why I didn't love myself, that God-sized hole that was in my heart, that till this day I still try and fill with things that aren't for me, that don't belong to me, that may look good on the outside, but they do not feel good on the inside. I'm going to jump back a little bit because I just got too ahead. That's how I want to finish. I have notes. I don't think I've looked down once. Yeah, where am I now? I'm here. Talking to you guys. have time to answer that bullet point. Here we are. So let's go. I lost my job at CFI, all these things, blah, blah, blah. Ended up having to do 30 days in jail. After the 30 days in jail, I was on fire. I was on a mission. I was gonna do all the things, and life was gonna be better. And I had my head on straight. And then a guy that I used with one of the biggest figures in town bought the house that was abandoned next door to me. I couldn't even drink comfortably in my house anymore. I used to be able to get drunk at home, not have to worry about it. Polish a bottle of vodka and still get up at 4 in the morning and go pour concrete. That didn't bother me nothing, you know. But I couldn't do that anymore. I couldn't do the little things that I kept holding on to so tightly, just so I could still be, hey, that's me. That's mine. I got that. I can still get messed up and go to work and blah blah blah. As long as I don't go to the bar, then I won't end up at my dealer's house, you know. But God placed another interruption in my life, along with my 3rd DUI, along with losing that good job, 2nd really good job. God kept stripping all of these things away from me because He just kept going. I didn't realize it until later. I was pissed off at Him at the time. Now I'm humble and I'm like, hey, thanks. But at the time, I thought, you know, why do you keep doing this? You know, I'm trying, I'm doing this, and He goes, you're not trying hard enough. He goes, I got so much more for you. I have so much more planned for you than you can ever realize. You think this is what I got planned for you? You think this is the peak of what you can possibly do? He goes, He goes, how about another handful of nothing for a while? How about you sit in this for a while? How about you sit in just clear emptiness and defeat until you realize what your true potential was? And I had another year of that. I had another year of just loneliness, emptiness, isolation in my garage, shooting up as much as I could, hoping that I wouldn't wake up. Suicide plans and partial attempts. Sorry, I just looked up the sun looking at me. You know, and in the middle of that year, that last year, I lost my best friend. That's why I was talking about him at the beginning. He was everything that I had grown up, and he was my peace. I don't know what my childhood would have been like without him. But I lost him, and he wanted to do exactly what I'm doing right now. He wanted to get sober. He was bringing a little girl into this world. He wanted more out of his life, and we would talk about that. And he had big dreams, and he was doing better. And he didn't get the opportunity to raise his child. He didn't get the opportunity to raise her. He didn't get the opportunity to get sober. He didn't get the opportunity to live. But I did, for some reason. And you know, I battle with that, struggle with that. I worry often about if he knew Jesus, where he was at with that relationship. Am I going to see him again? It's a lot of digging that I got to do there still. But I lost him, and I broke. I took off my company truck, and I robbed one of my dealers, and loaded up my kayaks and my 22, and I was going to go take care of some things that I had kind of been at peace with taking care of for a long time. I made a few videos for my kids. I wrote a letter, and I had planned on taking my life, and I was pretty okay with that. I felt pretty at peace with that. You know, I just thought that was best. You know, I've been doing this whole thing for forever. You know, I'm only 30 years old. Should have been doing this in trouble back and forth, fighting this stuff since I was 14 years old. You know, and it hadn't been fun for me for a long time. Using hadn't been something that was enjoyment for a long, long time. It was all pain, and it was all escape. And I just wanted to escape it. It was the weirdest night. I sat out there on that water, and I ended up having, Adam laughs at the story. But I ended up having to, these beavers kept attacking me. Dude, I couldn't, there was absolutely no way I was going to get anything done. These beavers were vicious. They kept trying to jump in my kayak, and I was shooting at them, and I would hate to have been the neighbor that lived up the hill, man, because I was unloading rounds. So, used to hate them. Now I love them. Thank God for beavers, I guess. So I'm still here. By the time I got done fighting the beavers, the sun was coming up, and I remember looking at the sunrise. I was, man, what a beautiful sunrise! And I just paddled back and got in the truck and went home. You know, that was that for me. After that, I ended up getting 3 months of sobriety on my own. I call it sobriety as California sober. I ate my weight in edibles just so I could function. It wasn't until I went to an Iowa game last November that I did relapse again. I ended up getting so drunk that I pissed my pants in front of 70,000 people. Go Hawks. But Gavin was there. What's up, dude? But there was another week after that where it was just pure chaos, using as much as I could. I was in my garage one night in a state of psychosis like I usually was, because the amount that I used was copious. I did not use or weigh my stuff out. I filled a spoon and hoped I would drop. I hallucinated my intervention. There was about 40 people in my garage that I fully believed were there. I was having conversations with all of them. They were my loved ones, family members. I really thought I was getting help. I thought finally, like, they're gonna sit me down. They're gonna like stop me for once. They're gonna sit me down. They're gonna help me. Like, this is it. Like, I'm gonna go to treatment. It's gonna be over. I'm gonna get a break for a little while. I think Amanda called me, or I called her. She's like, "Well, nobody's outside." She's like, "What are you doing right now?" And I freaked out. Absolutely lost my mind. It just so happened that my dad was watching the news that night. Thrive was having their opening advertisement for the grand opening for a treatment center in Des Moines. He ended up getting a hold of Brock. Brock ended up getting a hold of me. Out of all of that in that evening, I did get help. I was able to receive something. Somebody was talking to my dad that night, whether that's the Holy Spirit or whether that's faith or whether that's whatever you want to call it. Somebody was looking out for me. Somebody heard my prayers in that garage, of me begging for help. And I got to be the first person to walk through an amazing recovery center here in Des Moines that have helped many people that are in this room, including myself. I couldn't be more grateful for what they offered me and what they gave me. They gave me peace. They gave me the ability to be myself, figure out my demons, and give me time for a break. I don't know if it was because I was ready or because I really don't know. I know that I was broken and I was looking for something different. I had a home to go back to. I had a life. I had potential for work and all of the things. I had my kids at home. I had nothing that was binding me to anything other than 28 days. But I knew that I spent years beating myself into a pulp, and that 28 days wasn't going to do shit. I decided that I wanted to do sober living. I ended up being at Thrive for 45 or 46 days. They extended my visit and was able to find me a spot in sober living. I was in between Kingdom Living and Sober Soldierz. To be honest with you, the only thing that was up in the air with me was I thought that I could get away with more at Kingdom Living. I thought that I would have more freedom to do things that I wanted to do, and that I could escape things if I went there. I met TJ, I met CJ. They came in, they sat with me. They took the time out of their day to come and introduce themselves to me, which I thought was amazing. They wanted to get to know me before they brought me into their place. It wasn't, we are a corporation, we're a business, we're your number, let's get you in here so you can, we'll funnel you back out to the world. They wanted to get to know who I was. I was coming into their home around their children. They took me into their home to help change my life. I couldn't be more grateful for these two people that are sitting in front of me. Yes, me and TJ butt heads sometimes, but we're a little egotistical. We get a little big headed sometimes, and we may be bad. But that guy right there shaped me into the man that I'm becoming. I do not listen sometimes. I do, but I act like I don't, just so it doesn't look like I did it, not you. But I couldn't be more grateful for the time that I've had here. I was able to have 5 different jobs. I bounced around a little bit, but I was always working. When I first got in here, Justin Morrill welcomed me in. I did a flooring job for GPAT. Haven't seen him for a while. Hope he's doing okay. We did a flooring job for him, kind of showed him what I could do, and Justin Morrill took me under his wing. That guy right now, by the way, is doing big things. Started his own company. Also came out of what we have here, this beautiful family, and had his own business. He's flying, man. He's doing great. I wish him the best. And he took me under his wing and got me a job. We worked together. After that, I got into insurance sales for a little bit. Didn't really do much there. And then I started gutter cleaning. And then I got out of gutter cleaning, and I'm now where I'm at now, which is what I would consider home for me. I work for Griner Building Company. We build custom shop houses. I absolutely love it. It's great work. I work with a couple sober individuals that are far along, well, much further along in their recovery than I am, and they've taught me a lot. There's an immense amount of things that I've taken from this place. Being able to learn how to give back and humble yourself and sit down in your mistakes and learn from them. To give back to those that are still out there that are sick and suffering. Go into treatment centers. Do the thing. I mean, it has been an overwhelmingly humbling experience to be sitting here talking in front of all you people that I've gotten to know and love so well. With that being said, this is my last week at the Sober Soldierz house. I'm going to be moving out this weekend. Man, what a ride, dude. Crazy. Just what a year it's been. It's been absolutely phenomenal. It couldn't have worked out more perfect. This is all way beyond me. I have no control over all of this. This walk that I'm on now, this person that I'm becoming, the way that I got here, all of it is. I can't thank God enough. I can't thank God enough. I didn't find God like a lot of you guys did. I wasn't a child. I wasn't for my parents. My dad didn't believe in church. God found me. God found me on a gravel road, out of my mind. And I will never forget that day. God found a broken sinner and decided that he wanted to make him into something a little bit more than that. And I'm trying. And I'm grateful for the road that's ahead of me. I can't wait to come step back in with you guys and do things and be part of this, and do it from the outside in.
Amen.
I did have a Bible verse that I wanted to read. It's Isaiah 43:18-19. Forget the former things, do not dwell on the past. See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not see it? I am making my way within the wilderness. Oh, no. I am making my way in the wilderness, in rivers in the desert. I like that. Out with the old and with the new. I love you guys very much.
We love you, love you. All right, everybody, I'm CJ Vasquez. I'm in recovery. Wow, some amazing testimonies tonight from these boys. I have the privilege to know each one of them on a very intimate mom level. I am a girl mom, but these boys, I get to have boys now. And what I love about each of your testimonies tonight is that beautiful rescue stories. Like, he gets to say when you go. He gets to say what you're going to do, and he's bringing you three into your will, because if Satan's going after you hard, God is harder, and there's something special for each one of you planned. I know that. We all know that. We see that. And it's a privilege to watch Cody grow into, the godly man. All the little ladies at church are like, who is that guy? It's so cute. And, but just all of his questions, all of his curiosity, just like to watch him grow into this man of God has been just a blessing. and the conversations, I cherish them. And then Adam, just your babies with you. And he's like this big old guy toting 2 little kids all around, and he's doing it, when he didn't know if he'd get the opportunity, and to choose them and choose himself every day in recovery. And Logan, oh, look at you. I remember that guy we met in Thrive, and you are not that same guy. You are still growing, still learning, still showing up every single day for yourself, for your children. We've gotten to know your children and Amanda really well. You guys are forever families with us, and as much as I want to keep you guys, sometimes with you, it's time to go, but that doesn't mean you still don't have a family to come home to, it still doesn't mean there's holidays and bonfires, you're still welcome, and that's my goal, and that's my heart for everybody that comes through Silver Soldiers is there's still a place to come back to always, whatever you need. And so if we can just circle up. I'll let you guys stay together.
I know.
Where am I going?
Whose Father?
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Susan. Jenny.